Do you want another broken Void Hunter build in PvE? Well, look no further. If you didn't know, the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk, which is the exotic that came out for the Hunter last season, got an update to its perk. Its perk, see me, feel me. I know this is long, but just stick with me. Your void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage, you and your nearby allies gain a reserve overshield, and improved class ability regeneration. These overshields can be deployed by using a class ability. So it used to be you came out of Invis and got bonus damage, but now it's you come out of Invis, now your void weapons get those volatile rounds. So that's a huge help. We don't need to use Echo of Instability on the Void subclass. We don't need to use that fragment. And now most of the stuff is tied to the finisher while you're invis. And again, most of these benefits do benefit your team, but there are a couple things here that really help you out as a solo player. So let's run through the subclass. So super wise, I'm either using Mobius Quiver or I'm going to use Deadfall. I'm not going to use Spectral Blades in PvE. Basically, I want to tether a bunch of targets or have high damage from Mobius Quiver shooting a boss. Again, just keep that in mind. Ability wise, I'm going with Gambler's Dodge because when I dodge near an enemy, I want that smoke bomb again for my melee, which again, the snare bomb, you throw a smoke which attaches to surfaces and pings enemy radar, weakens targets on detonation. So any target near it will get weakened. Again, jump wise, doesn't really matter what you use. Grenade, I'm using the Vortex Grenade. Main reason is that I can throw it down and it can suck a bunch of enemies in, which is great. You can use any other grenade that you want, but personally, I like the Vortex Grenade because it's good for ad clear and good for placing on a boss to apply the debuff for weakening. Again, Echo of Undermining. This helps out your Void Grenades, weaken targets. Again, that's why I'm using it. Next up, aspect wise, Vanishing Step. Again, dodging makes you invisible. Again, this whole build is like kind of about being invisible and coming out of Invis, proccing it again. Next, Stylus Executioner. Again, defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants invisibility and true sight. Again, after performing a Stylus Execution, your next melee attack while invisible weakens targets. So again, defeating any combatant, weaken, suppress, or volatile. This is not just abilities, these can be weapons as well. So weaken clear on a grenade launcher can work, and also tractor cannon can proc this as well. Basically anything that can cause these three effects on the Void subclass, those make you invisible, which is just, it's absolutely ridiculous, but it's great at the same time. Other fragments I'm using, Echo of Remnants. Pretty much that's going to make our Vortex Grenade last longer. I like that. Next up, Echo of Starvation. I personally like this one since we're going to be using Void Weapons a lot, which we can pair with Harmonic Siphon, which allows us to generate orbs. But when you pick up an orb, it grants Devour. Now, you do lose a little bit on the recov, but having Devour allows you to pretty much get your grenade back faster, which is going to be another great thing here, especially for Stylus Executioner and being able to weaken targets with that Vortex Grenade. Then lastly, I'm going with Echo of Obscurity. Again, finisher final blows grant invisibility. Again, if for some reason, you know, you're kind of like out of place in a situation and you aren't able to proc those volatile rounds, being able to, proc invisibility just by getting a finisher on a low level ad, again, that's how you can proc those volatile rounds again on your void weapons. Next, going to talk about the armor mods that I'm using. So again, any of these armor mods can be put on any armor piece as long as the elemental type matches up. And honestly, I'm going to be going over a couple substitutes as well, but for me, this is like really good, especially for the hunter. So I'm just going to cover the ones that I'm using currently on my armor set. So on the helmet here, first up, elemental charge. Again, you become charge of light when you pick up an elemental well, and if it matches your subclass energy type, it gives you ×2 charge of light. Next is Harmonic Siphon. Again, I already talked about this one, but again, rapid weapon final blows with damage matching your subclass type, create an orb of power. It only costs 1, which is really nice, especially if we're going to be using void weapons. So you're going to be making a lot of orbs. On my gauntlets, I'm using Reaping Wellmaker. After activating your class ability, your next weapon final blow on a combatant spawns a void elemental well. So again, we're going to dodge, become invis. The next kill we get is going to spawn that void elemental well. Next up, I like Focusing Strike, honestly. So it grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a melee attack, which allows us to get that dodge back faster so we can go invis. But you can also substitute this in for something like Bolstering Detonation. Again, grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. Again, it doesn't have to be a kill. It doesn't have to completely destroy them. It's just damage. On the chest piece here, I am using High Energy Fire. Again, while we're charged with light, we're going to get a bonus to weapon damage, and 1 stat goes away once we kill 1 target. So again, if we have 2, it'll last 2 times. On my boots, I am rocking Phantom Might. Picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that same elemental type, so our void weapons are going to have more damage. Lastly, on the class item, I have Well of Tenacity. Again, picking up a void elemental well reduces the damage you take from combatants for a short period of time, so we're getting that damage resistance. And I also have Perpetuation on here. Again, you can use whatever one you want on the elemental type, but personally I like Perpetuation or the one that comes on the Stasis subclass, which allows you to have that class ability cooldown so I can have that dodge again. Now, I did talk about Weaken Clear, so if you are rocking a grenade launcher, again, Weaken Clear can be good, but again, it is only going to work on things like bosses, champions, you know, breaking combatant shield, reloads the weapon. Like, there's a couple of benefits here, but if you don't have a grenade launcher, you're not going to use it. You could look into using Monochromatic Maestro. Reason being, dealing damage with elemental abilities grants increased damage to weapons of the same elemental type for a short duration, and dealing damage with elemental weapons grants increased damage to abilities of the same elemental for a short duration. I know that was a lot, but pretty much your void abilities give buff to void weapons give damage buff to void abilities. As you can tell, it's a little infinity loop right here. If you wanted to switch out from Elemental Charge and High Energy Fire and stick with Elemental Well mods, you could do that. Look into Elemental Time Dilation. Again, any time limit benefits on Elemental Well mods will increase. You could look into Font of Wisdom, so when you pick up a Elemental Well mod that matches your subclass energy type and makes your intellect 100 for that X amount of time so you can get your super faster. If you feel like Reaping Wellmaker isn't enough to create that void elemental well, again, you could look into Melee Wellmaker. Again, powered melee combatant final blows spawn an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type. And same thing with Elemental Ordnance, except this is the grenade. So when you get a grenade kill, it'll spawn that void elemental well. Elemental Armaments, you could do that as well, since we are going to be using void weapons. The only problem is that has an escalating chance of creating one. It's not an absolute guarantee every time you get a kill, so you have to keep that in mind. Now, stats to focus on, obviously, resilience. I feel like we talk about this every video. Having max resilience, having that 40% damage reduction in PvE is great. I mean, on top of well tenacity as well, that's going to be good, but I would also highly recommend looking into maxing out that mobility as well as high as you can, because again, we want to go invis as quickly as possible. And then maybe you could look into your discipline and your strength stat, since your grenade is going to be weakening targets on top of your melee being able to weaken targets. You could look into maxing those out, but again, definitely make sure resilience is covered first. You want to survive in these activities. Now for some weapon options. You have such a variety of options here weapon-wise. I can't even go through all the ones I have. Like, even on Dim here, like, we just have so freaking many void options. I mean, the ones I already have on. I mean, like, if you can get a good Last Perdition roll, you know, Deafening Whisper, the grenade launcher, that's a wave frame, the Void Glaive, the Enigma, the new sidearm. I don't even know how to say that, but it has 59 in it. It's a Suro sidearm. It can come with Swashbuckler and Pugilist, which, again, good for the melee side of things, right? If you have a good Aisha's Embrace from Trials for PvE. Again, if you want to go exotic-wise, you could go something like Le Monarch. You could use something like Graviton Lance. You have a multitude of options here, weapon-wise. But the main thing I do want to focus on is finding a weapon that does come with something like Repulsor Brace. If you don't know what that perk is, defeating a void debuff target grants an overshield. Now, you're going to be debuffing targets almost all the time with this build in general. You're going to be weakening targets, and you're also going to be causing Volatile from Volatile Rounds. Like, you're pretty much going to have that overshield up constantly if you have a weapon that comes with Repulsor Brace. Now, if you're looking for a weapon with Repulsor Brace, again, I do have this one from the Duality dungeon. This is the SMG from Spire the Watcher dungeon. I also have the Double Fire Grenade Launcher. Hilarious, by the way. This thing is nuts. It does come with that perk as well. And then also from the Dawning, if you can get the Glaciocasm, you can get this with Repulsor Brace and Reservoir Burst. Again, when that battery is full, your next burst deals additional damage and causes enemies to explode on death. So you get the initial explosion from that and the Volatile Rounds from Void. But the ritual weapon this time around is a Pulse Rifle. Again, you can go to the Vanguard, Crucible, or Gambit. You get to rank 16 to reset, and you have the opportunity to pick up the Velis X. Now, on top of this thing, just having a juicer roll for PvP, Tunnel Vision Kill Clip, it's perks for PvE. Perfect, dude. Repulsor Brace and Golden Tricorn. Final blows of this weapon grant bonus damage while the buff is active. Grenade or melee kills of the same damage type greatly increase its damage and duration. It's a Void Pulse Rifle. This thing is absolutely disgusting. If you want a guaranteed weapon, just get to rank 16 in either Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit. If you're not catching the synergy, I'll run through it the best that I can. So first up, we're going to dodge. That's going to proc Reaping Wellmaker. The next weapon kill we get is going to spawn a Void Elemental Well. Again, we're going to pick that up. We're going to gain Well Tenacity, ×2 Charge of Light for the bonus damage from High Energy Fire. And then Font of Might is going to kick in for all of our Void weapons, so those are going to have more damage. Again, we just came out of Invisible, so Gyrfalcon's Hauberk's perk allowing our void weapons to gain volatile rounds is going to happen. So again, any weapon that's void is going to have those volatile rounds. Any freaking volatile round kill, any explosion or whatever, as long as they die from volatile, Stylus Executioner is going to kick in and we're going to become invisible again. So again, you could honestly just run with the weapon. As long as you continue to get kills and go invisible and make those targets volatile, you can keep this up forever. And if your void weapon has Repulsor Brace, you're going to constantly have that Overshield as well. Now again, you have the dodge, which allows you to go invisible, so if you need to use it, go ahead and use it. And again, if you want that extra damage resistance, again, if you dodge, that's going to proc Reaping Wellmaker like I mentioned, etc., etc. If you need to weaken targets, again, you have your Snare Bomb and your Vortex Grenade, which is great. And again, if you're going to be getting void kills with void weapons, that's going to create an Orb of Power from Harmonic Siphon. You can pick that up. That's going to grant Devour. If you continue to get kills, that's going to allow you to have that grenade back even faster. And if for some reason you're stuck, you don't have volatile rounds, none of your abilities are up to allow you to go invisible, you can always finish the target, allowing Echo of Obscurity to kick in, which is going to grant you invisibility once you finish out that finisher. And then once you come out of invisibility, guess what? Your weapons are going to have volatile rounds again. So essentially, you can have constant Overshield, constant Invis, and pretty much almost constantly weaken targets with the Snare Bomb and the Grenade. So again, there's a lot of benefits here. Your weapons can have Repulsor Brace, which allow you to have an Overshield. Pretty much, you can debuff all the targets with Weaken and Volatile, plus have Overshield, plus have Invis, plus have Devour. That's the big thing. You're pretty much proccing all 3 of the buffs and 2 of the debuffs from this from this build. It's absolutely disgusting. If you want to toss in Tractor Cannon 2 and allow Suppress and Weaken to happen, then by all means, go for it. Essentially, you could put on almost anything that I mentioned, and you're going to destroy in PvE. Plus, with the other part of the perk allowing you to gain more damage for the weapon when you get that finisher when you're invis, and also be able to benefit your teammates by giving them an Overshield and improve class ability regeneration, they're honestly just, there's no downside for either solo or team activities. And anyway guys, that is my broken Gyrfalcon's Hauberk PvE build for the Hunter. Again, if you like what you saw, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another one of these build videos. If you didn't know, we stream here on YouTube 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday evenings. Again, that is here on the channel. Mostly we're going to be doing Spire of the Watcher dungeon carries. Again, we are mostly playing Destiny 2, but I will be tossing in other games on the stream as well. If you would like a carry, again, just join in the stream, let me know. And if you want to be proactive, join my Discord. That link will be in my bio. That's where we're going to be able to chat. And again, most of us are talking about Destiny 2, but we also have a variety of other topics in there as well, from anime, PC tech, and more. Lastly, if you didn't know, we hit YouTube Partner recently, which is just freaking awesome. That gives us a lot of benefits here on the channel. One of those things being memberships for you guys. If you don't know what a membership is, essentially it is like a Twitch subscription. Again, that's going to give you access to exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and more things on the list. Again, if you want more info, all you have to do is press the join button, and that will give you the rundown with all the details if you want to look into becoming a member. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Sheesh.